about 18 months of research and development, a proof of concept and the works. So yeah, that's who we are, and that's how we started our business.
I mean, that is just a really admirable achievement, Theo. I just want to, just very quickly, when you talk about sustainable jobs, and you've very kindly mentioned the fact that 300 plus people is what you employ. Fantastic results. When you talk sustainable jobs, what is it that you have in mind? What are we talking about here?
So oftentimes, like going back to what I just mentioned now, that when you really go into, I would say, township economics or township economy, and you really listen to the challenges and the frustrations and what really causes, the unsustainability, besides the economical unsustainability and what really happens and in the townships, you realize that oftentimes people are just jumping onto jobs, and into working for companies and businesses that they don't really resonate with and that are not actually, helping add value to them as employees. There is no value add. I'm just working to for this business because I'm in need of a job. So I really thought about, how do I actually, double tap on that and create a value add for not only our clients but for our employees. And first was, building a brand and a company that resonates with the people, that recognize that fire in them, that really recognize their passion, so that we can help, really contribute to the bottom line and scale the business together, as opposed to me having, products and services or building a business that is just in demand, but the people that are helping grow the business are not motivated. So I also, went about that to say, I don't want people to work for Batu because they're in need of jobs, but I want our people to work for our business, our service providers to really work with us and establish, great stakeholder relations. And not only that, but also our clients not to buy our products because of they feel like there's a need to, but everyone has to collectively feel motivated and really reignite their passions, and this brand should really reignite something in people. And for me, with that approach in terms of building that stakeholder relations and stakeholder value helped us create sustainable jobs. I mean, even in the midst of the pandemic, we've never fired anyone in our business, and we've always maintained the jobs that we've created. And I think it goes beyond just the call of trade, but more to a purpose and really building value shared services and having core values that we can all resonate with.
Now, Theo, we mentioned, as we introduced the topic for this conversation, that starting from the bottom, how to start a multi-million rand company with little to no startup. But of course, that is such a key concern for so many young South Africans, for so many South African entrepreneurs, people that are trying to bootstrap themselves. Financing, a huge factor when starting a business. How did you go about procuring funding for Batu sneakers? That's the first part of the question. The second part is, might it have been easier for you understanding the lay of the land and the terrain, of course, being a qualified accountant?
Yeah, 100%. So look, man, as I've mentioned, I'm a product of opportunities more than anything else. From how I was awarded the bursary to further my studies in accounting, to not only that, but having to work for a great firm that also allowed me to work overseas as well, and I was seconded to the Middle East. And how I got to really start Batu was that I think the most genius thing that I've done at the time was that when I moved over to the UAE, I never changed my lifestyle. So what I then did was, I took all my earnings at the time, being it from my salary and the subsistence allowances that I've gotten, all the extra money that I've gotten at the time, saved it up for about 5 years, and used that or deployed that as seed capital into starting my business, into starting Batu. So again, I'm one of the lucky few, and I'm a product of opportunity. But nonetheless, I think when it comes to finding, I think I always say this, that you need to have at least about, key things that can really unlock your funding for you. I'm a firm believer in proof of concept in whatever approach that you have or whatever business model that you have. A proof of concept, even in a very small scale, it's really, really key. Number two, really understanding the mechanics of your business. How is the mechanics of your business looking like, or your business model? And number three, also, how do we monetize and get return out of this? The reason why I'm mentioning this is because of whether it's a private equity, venture capital, or it's a state-owned organizations. The minute you can prove to whoever that you're asking funding for that this is viable, this is scalable, this is scalable, it's easy to unlock funding. And I think it's very, very important for budding entrepreneurs to really understand those three key things. The best way to really get something out of, I think, anything else in business is to really prove and to show people that you probably maybe don't need it, or you can actually make use of, whatever that they're offering you. So I firmly believe in that. And obviously, again, a product of opportunity, an accountant by profession. And I think, the experience that I've gotten in my profession, and the exposure that I've gotten not only in South Africa but abroad in terms of auditing and engaging with auditing or consulting with different types of clients from across different sectors has really helped me understand our financials and business models, and really scale and growth of a business as well. So that also played a crucial role in growing Bathu as well. The experience that I've gotten as well from my my accounting job also helped scale Bathu as well.
Lovely. I mean, for people out there who are wondering what a minimal viable product might look like, what my proof of concept might look like, you, for instance, rolled out your first 100 pairs that got snapped up by People and Alex. Just tell us, how do we get a sense of, okay, this is good enough, I can start approaching incubators, banks, whoever it is, some lenders for funding, for capital to go ahead with my project, with my dream?
Absolutely. I mean, I think, it all goes without saying that you cannot, sell something that is not in demand. You need to be able to, first and foremost, identify a need for your product, your service, or your business. Once you identify that and go about the means of, the value add, what is the value add? What is the value proposition for that as well? And then from that, once you can put the two together, you can identify that, you can go to a point whereby you're talking about, your approach to the market, or what we would call a go-to-market strategy, which sometimes, depending on the nature of your business, your go-to-market strategy can be a very expensive exercise to do. But it's very important to really find a way to do it, in a most cost-efficient manner. I mean, in my instance, even when I went to the factory had minimum order quantity of our sneakers, our mother brand, which is the Mesh edition. But I couldn't afford the minimum order quantity. All I needed to do, even though I didn't make profit from the proof of concept, was to get 100 pairs to really, sell them out, to really put them out in the market and really get an understanding and feedback from that and try to take it to the next level. So my point is that sometimes is that it's, your proof of concept stage is about putting, your mechanics together and ticking your boxes. It's not necessarily about making money or contributing to the bottom line, but really getting the right ticks on board. And there's different ways to go about that.
So other than funding, Theo, I'm curious to find out what were some of the biggest challenges or other big challenges that you faced as a young South African entrepreneur, and then, of course, how you overcame them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I did about 18 months of research and development, I think, across the globe. You can imagine I'm an accountant by profession. Never worked for any other retail business or any other brand before, being in retail before. So one of the things that I've done was to do a research around footwear industry in the world. And I think, we all know that we've got about 7 continents in the world. And each and every region or part of the world has a fair representation of either a footwear brand, right? So, and meaning that obviously those footwear brands, those international footwear brands, are dominating Africa as a continent or as a region as well. So for me to come up with my own brand and to really convince, consumers that have been buying international footwear brands that my brand is as good as them was one of the biggest challenges, and obviously the consumer behavior and there's this narrative at the time. And I think there's been quite a great pool of local brands that have challenged the narrative, but included as well. At the time when I started, the narrative was that local brands are not of great quality, as the international footwear brands. So I really had to work hard in terms of convincing people that we are of the same quality as the international brand, and even not better, maybe in terms of our offering. And most importantly, we can even come back and show the impact that we're creating in our communities, which was very, very key for us.
I'm going to talk about unemployment, the unemployment levels in South Africa, and the fact that you do employ so many South Africans. I just want you to elaborate and expand on that. There's more to winning over customers in a market where we're so beholden to international brands. You know this very well, I'm sure, right? The fact that you have to win
Yep.
people over, convince them, and make them loyal. No doubt your celebrity partnerships went a long way to doing that. But the actual Batu experience as well has cemented your brand in people's hearts.
100%. And I think over and above, the story and everything else, you really need to, and one of the approaches that we do, and I think it's in our culture, it's in our offering, that we want to go about, giving the right customer experience and consumer experience, so that we can retain the consumer. And even in our value chain, the way we do things, it's always about the customer experience. We actually have in our boardrooms at the headquarters, where we have a chair for the customer, because we understand that it's all about the customer. We sit in our boardroom and we have a beautiful yellow chair that is written customer, so that whatever that we talk about, we understand that it's all about the customer more than anything else. And we really use feedback, positive, negative, and customer insights and data to really better our brand, because it's all about that. It's all about how do we actually add value, through our products and service and our offering to our customers. I mean, our brand promise says walk your journey, and we want to walk the journey with our customers, anyone who's on a journey of greatness. Because think about it, you don't put in a shoe unless you're about to embark on a journey. And we want Batu to be a shoe of choice in that journey. So one of the things that we've done in our business as a value add is to customize our clients' journeys, where we have customization stations across few stores that we have, where people can come in and personalize their journey. Whether you're buying a Batu for your loved one or as a present, or you're doing corporate gifting, you can actually come and personalize your Batu as well. And that is one of the many few value adds that we've got in our business, to really be customer centric and make sure that our customer experience is amazing. You look at, we've got an omni-channel, we've got brick and mortar stores, and one of the things that we do in our business is that we really want to marry the two and make sure that there's synergy. You can buy your Batu online and go to the store and exchange it, or you can actually go to Polokwane in store and buy your shoe, and then allow your cousin to collect it in Cape Town. So those little value add and offering as well really goes a long way in terms of cementing our brand beyond the story that so many resonates with. But we make sure that our customer experience, our service offering is really to the par, and it's excellent. And we always challenge ourselves. We are try to be innovative as much as we can and really stay close to our consumer.
Yeah, final question to you this afternoon, Theo, is given those huge levels of unemployment in SA that I just alluded to, you, of course, the recipient of the Top Empowerment Job Creation Award. Fantastic achievement. What process has Batu Sneakers followed in order to create these jobs? And, of course, what type of jobs are these?
Sure. I mean, process, I don't know. I think it's about being authentic, being real, and just being authentic about our approach and having clear intentions. We have a mantra when it comes to people in our business that says people before profit. We really understand our people, not only the consumer. We've got, many other benefits that we offer, really understanding the consumer. Things like, offering staff complementary benefits, or transport complementary benefits to our people. And because we really understand where they're coming from, right? So it's basically, one of those things. And we really have different types of jobs in our business, from our packers, to when you go to our HQ, we have young professionals, we have experienced a team of esteemed leaders as well that have worked for great corporates across the board. And of course, most importantly, we also have esteemed clients that really support our business. So we do have I think a great mixture of skill set, number one, of great leaders as well in our business, and we create different types of employment. But the beauty about it is that it doesn't matter where you are, we can always learn from each other. We've got a value in our business that talks about being inclusive and being diverse, inclusivity and diversity in our business, and we make sure that we apply that across board. It doesn't matter where you are in the business, we are always inclusive and willing to learn as a team.
Theo Baloyi, I must tell you it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you this afternoon. The energy and passion is absolutely palpable, even though you're coming to us virtually and we're communicating virtually. It really has been a pleasure to spend some time with you this afternoon and, of course, glean such important insights. I want to ask you something as cheesy as where to next for Batu, but I think the most exciting part about your journey is actually watching it happen. It really is inspirational. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for the invite.
An absolute pleasure. Sure. I hope you're able to get that energy, catch some inspiration, because Theo Baloyi is incredibly driven. And of course, the Batu sneaker brand is a fantastic one. Beautiful, beautiful example of energy and passion and insight in action coming from a young South African. And our final item on the agenda this afternoon, a fireside chat tackling a rather important topic, youth unemployment. We're asking the question, a ticking time bomb in South Africa. Facing the stats, a deep dive into the state of youth unemployment and identifying actionable solutions before it's too late.
Welcome and thank you for joining us as we take a deep dive into the state of youth unemployment and identifying actionable or rather sustainable solutions before it's too late. My name is Victoria Jacobs. I am the Managing Director at Skill Hub, and I would like to welcome you to our discussions. So before we commence with our discussion, I'll be remiss if not to acknowledge our esteemed panelists, the CEO of NYDA, Mr. Wasim Karim, and co-founder at Zito, Mr. Alan van der Meulen. We are grateful for the time you have all dedicated to sharing your expertise and your experiences with us. Youth unemployment has been at a steady incline throughout the last couple of years, while there has been efforts to integrate the youth into our economy. The growing number of unemployed youth every year is detrimental to our country. It is without a doubt that the pertinent issue of youth unemployment in South Africa has been highlighted and mentioned various of time. Promises has been made, yet youth unemployment remains a cumbersome issue. In the quarterly labor force survey, it was revealed that 46.3% of unemployed South Africans are youth. So my question to you is that what are the biggest obstacles hindering youth from entering the labor market?
Yeah, look, I'll take a stab at it, right? But I've sort of mentioned the issues with the cost of seeking work, right? And then how expensive it is for a young person to be able to actually look for work, right? But also what we tend to find is that even when young people find work, I'll give you an example, we've invested a lot in learnerships and internships. So you find that the average young person bounces in between internships and learnerships and often has to do sometimes up to 4 learnerships before they're able to find more sustainable work, So I think we're also finding this challenge that, yes, there are opportunities, but what we find are many opportunities are very short-term in nature, right? And it almost, if you have to think about it from a human perspective, is this hope for a young person when they get an opportunity and then back to hopelessness when they move out of that opportunity, So I think that's one issue associated with it. I think we've sort of spoken a bit about matching of supply and demand. But I also think there's a case to be made in this platform to say, where there are opportunities available, one of the things that we advocate for is for employers to be a little bit more flexible in how they work with young people, right? So just to give you an example is that if you put a job advert out and you say that you're looking for a young person who has matric and they, for example, they need to have mathematics completed at, well, in my time it was higher grade, but I think now you have mathematics and mathematics literacy, right? So if you say you want pure mathematics, you almost cut out 80% of young people who have the opportunity to be able to apply for that post, right? And often those very arbitrary indicators that are listed on job descriptions often are not indicators of actual performance on the job based on research that we've looked at. So sometimes we encourage employers to be a bit more flexible in their hiring practices because we think there's really gems of young people if we're willing to invest the time in their learning and development where they have the right attitude that they can really perform optimally and help grow organizations. So I'd say those are some of the barriers both on the supply and the demand side of hiring youth practices.
Yeah, I mean, also like another challenge that I found is that, sometimes when young people are in these internships and learnerships, we don't give them the true experience of what it is to actually work. I found that sometimes it will be like a bit relaxed because we're just so happy that we need to sometimes fill this position. We need a certain amount of interns every year, a certain amount of learners, and now they just come through and they just move through the system, but they don't always leave with that, I actually need to work, I need to get stuff done. They're not just happy to have me here, but I need to prove to them why I need to stay. So sometimes people are just coming in, they're collecting like the stipend, and then you get all this pressures from the household. So it's no longer that they're using this as a stepping stone. It's literally like, well, I've got this internship, I've got this learnership. This is not the stipend. This is now the salary. My family is suddenly depending on it. They're not allowing me to learn any further skills or take time to develop myself because the need is so great at home. And sometimes even if there's another opportunity to upskill yourself, your parents will be like, how can we run the cost of you doing something for 12 months that's not going to bring in an income? So you should just stay in whatever position you are in and get this money. Go find the next learnership. And it's that kind of problem as well. And then again, just to re-echo, so we underestimate like the difference between someone that's actually completed matric and someone that has not done it at all, because it might be normal for someone to just send an email. Just email me your CV, and you still got all these people bringing these paper CVs and saying, don't you know someone that can get me in? And now that's already like barrier one. Email me your CV. Oh, I don't have an email. Sorry, you're not on the list. You need to have a driver's license. Okay, you don't have one. Sorry, you're not on the list. And sometimes a lot of these things keeps getting added just so that we have to interview less people. Okay, now we need you to have a degree, and now you must have a degree and be good at like certain computer programs. Okay, tick, tick, tick. Nope. Now we only have to interview like 100 or so people. So sometimes we put all these barriers in. We give young people internships that don't really prepare them for the job market. We teach them skills that are not really in demand. And then we forget about certain barriers that they might have if they've not gone through matric or just been exposed to certain technologies. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thank you both for your insights. Well, economists have pinpointed entrepreneurial spirit and small business as as some of the best ways to stimulate the economy of the economic growth of any nation, because also this way it also alleviates the stress of job creation on national entities. So in what way can local businesses and corporations contribute to improving unemployment rate amongst the youth?
Yeah, thanks, Victoria. So I think that, even if you look at our National Development Plan, it sort of envisages a scenario where the majority of new jobs which are being created are done by small businesses. If you look at the growth of the Asian economies, for example, very much largely driven by small enterprise. So I think there's a couple of factors to take into account, right? The one is that education still plays a role in entrepreneurship. Generally, data shows that the more educated you are, particularly in areas like mathematics, which drives financial literacy, the more likely you are to succeed as an entrepreneur. The second thing I think that's important is that it's important to try and bridge the gap between where a person has an idea and actually converting that into some sort of enterprise.
Yeah.
And I mean, what we often say is how do we get young people started? How do we get them selling? So maybe a young person has a dream about being a chicken farmer. How do we get them selling eggs? So they get to where they need to be here. I think that pathway of being an entrepreneur is very critical. The third thing I think which is critical is access to markets. Yes, access to finance is important, but it's more important about creating access to market opportunities, both in the private sector and the public sector, and having a framework which promotes that. Now, in the public sector, for example, we have the Public Procurement Bill. Gauteng recently passed the Township Economic Development Bill. These are steps in the right direction to correct the access to market issues. But I think, more and more where we see the opportunity lying is where private companies use enterprise supply development spend. A lot of times we see, for example, the spend being directed towards training, which is not a bad thing, but where young people really need support is from companies, large companies, using their purchasing power to upskill them, but also assist them with procuring from them. And then the last thing I think we need to address is what I call a line between informal and formal enterprise, right? And the line is very thin in its nature. But I think we need to support more informal enterprise in South Africa. If you look at a lot of our funding instruments, our programs, it's very much directed towards formal enterprise. You must have a bank account, you must have a company address, you must have registration on this platform. Whereas the startup culture is informal in its nature, right? It starts by selling something to your neighbor or to your friend. And we need to be more supportive of informal. And what do I mean by that is also the very much, I think economic development is driven from the ground up, not a national down, it's from local government up. Now, if you look at the time it takes to get a business license approved, or how we chase hawkers away, when these people, that's the backbone. We sit here and we talk about how important small business is, but it doesn't reflect in how we actually treat small enterprises on the ground, So we have this vision that small enterprises are nice, clean shops in shopping malls, when they're not, A lot of them are informal in their nature, and we need to be more supportive of informal enterprises if we want to achieve that goal of supporting small business, and particularly young people.
I completely agree with you, Mr. Kareem. Sorry, do you have any views, Mr. Ellen?
Yeah, so we work with a lot of young people that also are wanting to get their business off the ground. And something we see is people start too big too quickly. Like guys like you, he needs a job, he's going to start a car wash. And we go, that's a brilliant idea. What do you need? And he's like, no, I need all these buffer machines. I need an industry standard like vacuum. I need all these things. And we're like, what are you talking about? You literally just need a bucket with some shampoo and a sponge, and you can start to generate customers. So sometimes people have this different interpretation of what it means to actually start your business. We expect some person in the office, you must have a suit, and then that's what you need to do. But literally it is, what are the needs that I'm, what are the needs in the community, and how do I address those needs in a meaningful way that draws value to the customers? And just starting like that. So sometimes people tend to overcomplicate at the beginning, so then they don't start, or it's too complicated, then they don't try, and then there's a lot of missed opportunity. And also sometimes we've got these local businesses that know about young people and talent in the communities, but they don't give them any opportunities. We sort of want internships to be government mandated or those kind of things, but it's literally I just need someone to do admin work. Here's the young person that can come do my administration in my business for some type of my own mini internship. Let's see, can I give this person the opportunity, not just go, okay, you don't have these skills, so we're not going to accept you, but let me do a trial for a month. Can you generate more income for the business, and now I'll be in a position to pay you? Because we've seen that, especially through our work, where people just go and volunteer, they go do things at the school, they go support a local barber and sort of get some of the booking systems in place, and then the person's like, okay, you now have you built in value for me, so now let me return some of that value to you. But it's all that just starting, I find to be the most difficult part.
Thank you so much. I think as also both of you have mentioned that education also plays a big role for the entrepreneurs or for the business. So as we know that education also plays an instrumental role in employment. So does South Africa's unemployed rate reflect on a failure, reflect failure in the structure of our national education system? What are your views?
Look, I mean, I think when you look at education in South Africa, and I mean, it is important to say that South Africa has invested a lot in education, both basic and higher, right? When you compare us to relative OECD countries, we invest much more of our GDP in education. Now, what that has done is it has fundamentally increased access to education. So if you look at now, almost every single young person who's born in South Africa will start school. Yeah? So it's a credit. What is lacking is sometimes the quality in that education, right? And in the quality of teaching materials, the quality of classrooms, the quality of teachers, and ultimately that reflects in the dropout rate that we have from basic education. Of the million or so young people who start grade 1, only 500,000 of them end up sitting for their matric exams. Yeah, and it's a similar situation in higher education. A fairly decent enrollment rate, but only 1 in 2 young people actually ends up completing a qualification. So certainly quality in the education system is lacking. And I think sometimes something that's not always mentioned is that, you know, the role of government is important in creating access to education, but holistically, when we look at the family unit plus government, plus teachers and school governing bodies, are we working in collaboration with each other to be able to achieve the goals that we want for young people and creating the skills that we want to? So I think that's one point to make. The other point, which I think is critical, is that we live in a fast, modern-paced world, you know, and we also need to realize that skills as we know it is changing, you know. Today, South Africa is the #1 destination for global business services. So we need to look at how South Africa trains for actual demand in the economy. You know, we're growing in call centers, data processing centers. So where we might have a skills gap, it may not be that hard to address the skills gap that we face. So certainly looking at sectors that are growing and training young people for actual work in those sectors is important. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, Mr. Karim, a question on what you just said. Would it then be maybe one of the solutions to include entrepreneurship in the education system?
Definitely, and I think, you know, for example, the Gauteng provincial government has already started that as a choice for young people, but more so, I'd say encouraging the culture of entrepreneurship, encouraging the culture of learning. You know, I think as the world evolves. You know, the one thing I learned, I went back to school a few years ago, and you realize that a lot of the stuff you learn in the classroom, you can learn online these days, you know.
Yeah.
It's also encouraging a culture amongst our young people of saying, if you have a passion or dream, pursue it, you know, because the amount of learning you can do is very different to 20 or 30 years ago.
Okay, thank you so much. Ellen?
Yeah. So again, I mean, some of the factors, I mean, I don't think it's like really a failure, but there's so many like external factors that prevents people from being well educated. I mean, literally, again, we're talking about dropout rates, and I mean, one of it's the quality like in the classroom, but there's a lot of pressures from the outside world where it's like, you've done enough now, you have your grade 9, that's enough, go and find work. You know, so in the quality of opportunity you can pursue thereafter, I mean, you just can't get the same kind of opportunities, and it's a repeating cycle, and everyone, especially like in the community that we're from, the parent will say, no, but I had to leave this time because I have to support the family, and now that's all you know. And then there's no role models in society, and everyone is falling into the same pattern. So the lucky few that's able to complete matric or go on to tertiary education will actually be, you know, obviously a lot more better off. So like, but we can't lose those people who have dropped out in grade 9 to support their family. So what are the sort of informal training that we can do? Like, if someone is doing entrepreneurship and that's a program, sometimes you already have to be in the system. You already have to be aware to learn about what you need to know. Like you rock up in the first day and they just start using acronyms and, oh, this is my BMC, and this is what Series A, and you hear all this investor talk. If you're someone that's really on the outside, how do you participate in that? So sometimes it's literally like, can we not just educate people, but can we educate people in a way that they can understand? And more practical examples based on the community. How do we literally like tailor that? Because the examples of people in Mitchell's Plain is not the same as the people in Soweto. So we like listening, we're like, oh, what are these people talking about? I'm not the entrepreneur. I'm not someone, I just have, let's say, a small business. Like there's so many times where we see all these local hawkers and people will not consider them to be entrepreneurs. Someone will just say, no, that guy's like selling fruit. He's not the entrepreneur. He's doing the exact same thing. He's managing his cash flow. He's identifying his customers. He's serving the market. All those kind of things. But our people don't see that as entrepreneurship because again, we're painting this very sexy picture. So the thing for me around education is how do we strip down everything else and literally localize it. And sometimes even in the local slang that people can understand. Let's educate people the way they understand, and then we will see progress.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. And also, we understand in the country at the moment, there's a lot of accelerator, companies that are helping small businesses or that are helping and skills development service providers that are helping to fight the youth unemployment. So what are the practical actions or action that you as the organization has taken to address the youth unemployment in the country?
Yeah, I'll kick this one off.
Go first,
so cool. So on Zlato, we literally incentivize every part of that process. If we say people either they don't have skills, they don't have work experience, or they don't have money to find work, and you kind of need to solve all those things at the same time, because I could have skills and experience and I don't have money to pursue an opportunity. I can have skills and money, but no experience for when I get there. So literally what our platform Zlato allows is for people to go out and volunteer so they can gain work experience. They can participate in learning programs, do nano courses online, and they can get the skills that they need and earn a Zlato incentive, which they can use to purchase things that reduces their cost of finding work. So now suddenly I can use my Zlato to pay for like traveling, or I can go buy a shirt at the at the local vendor, or I can buy food or access printing services. And literally we wanting to young people to understand that look, there are literally no handouts in life, and if you want to go pursue an opportunity, you can do that. But what effort are you putting in? So we've incentivized things like go and volunteer at the local business and share your skills. Go and volunteer in your community. And even if you do something like, just, participate in a community cleanup, just do anything so that you can actually allocate your time and then spend time doing different nano courses. So, I've done like, let's say a Google course or I've done like a nano course on Zlato on how do you start a side hustle. We will then reward you for that. And in some cases, we've even worked with like Zlato for businesses where we start to incentivize specific growth of your business. So you registered your business, great, you can now earn, and then that will allow you to access a logo design. Or you came up with a marketing plan, that's great. This will allow you to access now an accounting service. So that's the thing. We start to not incentivize the inputs, but we're starting to incentivize the outcomes. So like, what are you doing? Don't just say that you were here. What have you done? And the way we've set it up is that you have to prove what you've done to strangers. So it's not just your friends going, oh, this guy was in the class, this Ellen guy, he did something. No, it's like you have to submit proof that is so clear that someone that doesn't know you believes that your business has now been moving forward. And then we also then generate on these impact services. You can start to assess yourself. You can see like if it's my business, okay, I'm now missing. I don't have a Facebook page, or I've got my accounting. I've got my accounts, they balance now. I've been registered, and you can sort of do the self-assessment and then decide. You can decide basically your own growth and be incentivized every time you grow.
Okay, and then also as a result of your intervention, have how many job opportunities have you guys created?
Yeah, so again, our platform allows people to, number one, source their own opportunities. But in terms of like placements, there's been a couple of thousand placements or young people going out and finding at least entry-level jobs by using the Impact CV. So we had something like 10,000 different entry-level jobs, and this is what the different partners that we work with. So we will then track someone coming onto the platform, what skills they learn, and then where are they now.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. Mr. Karim?
Yeah, thanks. So, I mean, if you look at us as NYDA, we've really got three streams of work, right? So the one is, I think we're, you know, developing young entrepreneurs in South Africa. And this goes from training towards business development services, access to finance through grants, business mentorship and support, as well as aftercare and access to market linkages, you know. And we've really seen a growth in the number of young people who are taking up these products and services from the NYDA. Over the last 5 years, we've funded close to 20, trained about 100,000 young people. The second stream of work is in supporting young people who are, you know, in pathways to jobs, right? And that's through a combination of digital and tech, soft skills as well as technical skills, and those negotiations with employers. And it's important here that I touch on a platform called SAYouth.mobi, right? Which is data free and works on smartphones and feature phones, where a young person can build a profile for themselves and then get access learning and earning opportunities closest to where they live. And really what we're trying to do with SA Youth is aggregate opportunities in one place for young people. And then the last thing is we are revitalizing the National Youth Service in South Africa. I mean, Alan spoke about the culture of volunteerism, right? And the impact that you can have as a volunteer. So youth service at its core is an opportunity for a young person to offer meaningful quality service to their communities, to earn an income while they're doing that, and then to grow their skills and employment. Generally, participating in a youth service program allows a young person to be able to almost have equivalent to having a degree in their pocket in terms of building their network and building sustainable pathways into economic opportunity.
Okay, fantastic. And just a question for you, Mr. Karim. If a business or a company is already within the space of, you know, youth development and job creation, and they want to partner with NYDA, how can they go about it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to drop my email address in the chat and for you guys to post it and for people to reach out to me. But you can also reach out to the NYDA via our website, www.nyda.gov.za. We've got a call center which operates during business hours. Yeah, I mean, we're very open to partnership. We'd love to partner with anybody out there working in the similar space. Yeah, please do reach out and see how we can connect. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Also, a tertiary educational qualification is a powerful accelerator on the road to securing employment. However, only 1 out of 100 young South Africans manage to complete some form of tertiary education. How could or how can educational institution work alongside with you know, with corporations to bridge the gap between education and business sector?
Yeah, look, I mean, I spoke about it a little bit, right? Is to say, I think we can certainly look at fixing issues in basic education and higher education, and I think that's critical so we get better return on investment.
Yeah.
But I also think we've had this fascination over a number of years with accredited skills, right? And expensive courses, and really the people who've benefited off that are the private training providers in South Africa. Now you have an opportunity where you can train for non-accredited skills for actual demand that exists in the economy. And there's a number of sectors which are growing, right? Automotive, digital and tech, global business services, agriculture, and installation, repair, and maintenance, another one, where you can train young people in a short space of time, either to be self-employed or employed, where you know that you're training for actual demand. And what we're trying to move towards is a pay-for-performance model, where before we appoint a training provider to train young people, they have already negotiated placements for those young people so that we know there's a job on the other side of the training. So I think that's where the real critical part of the reform lies, and a lot of work is already happening in that.
Okay, thank you. Ellen, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, no, I'm in total agreement here. We need to make sure that there's a place to put them afterwards, and then I don't think like tertiary education is for everyone, because you get, like, for example, myself, I like to know, okay, we need to learn about blockchain. How do we use that for verification? Is there a short course I can do on that? Okay, I need to learn about app development. What can I do? So I'm one of those people that wants to do all these alternative forms of education, because the time doesn't always allow for someone to spend like 4 years at university, but they still need to learn the skills. So I'm just in agreement with what was said.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Ellen. And I think, lastly, what do you think is the best way to unlock job prospects for unemployed young people?
I think there's a real opportunity, right? I spoke about sayouth.mobi, and I think there's really a great opportunity there for us to better match young people with opportunities. The cost of work seeking is expensive, right? So if you think about the vision of SA Youth, right, it's getting people to aggregate opportunities in one place, making the work search easier for you. It's really a nice vision to be able to aim towards, breaking down the barriers that we spoke about today. So I really encourage people on both sides, young people as well as host employers, to consider accessing sayouth.mobi and giving us a call about it, because we really feel that both for young people as well as employers, we can make a massive difference in South Africa.
Thank you. Ellen, do you have anything to include before we close?
Yeah, localize the content, have more young people be entrepreneurs, because then they can create a lot more jobs than if they were just employed. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Just in conclusion, I would just like to emphasize how imperative it is to have, these conferences. These are the gatherings that allow us to, to share our knowledge and experiences for greater good of our youth and our country. Once again, thank you so much. Thank you so much to both of you, Mr. Karim and Mr. Ellen, for availing yourselves today. We've really had a fruitful discussion that I believe will, practically advance us on our quest to combat youth unemployment. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Victoria.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ellen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Nedbank is leading the charge towards a low-carbon, resource-efficient economy through the launch of its Green Economy CSI strategy, investing millions to develop jobs and emerging enterprises in agriculture, waste, water, and energy projects. Our commitment to the green economy as our CSI anchor strategy is one of the key ways in which we intend to contribute to its realization and sustainable effectiveness. By implementing our strategy aligned to the 4 strategic levers, those being agriculture, energy, water, and waste, we aim to drive and support our communities, especially in addressing the very evident societal gaps.
And of course, a big thank you to Victoria Jacobs, Managing Director of Skill Hub. They're bringing us the final item on the agenda, on the program for this afternoon. It really was a fantastic and insightful conversation that they brought us. Well, that concludes actually our program for day one of the 7th annual Top Empowerment Conference, and it has been such an absolute pleasure to facilitate, to MC, and take you through the program today. I trust that today's varied panels and speakers were able to inspire you to think in new ways, invigorate you into action, and of course, most importantly, I hope you took the opportunity to network, to introduce yourselves to your mentors, to colleagues, to people that you had been just dying to meet all this time, because after all, with 5,000 people having registered for this 2-day conference, it just makes sense to take this opportunity and run with it. All right. And of course, many of our speakers spoke about the gaps, the opportunities, but most importantly, what we ought to do as a matter of urgency as people in the private and the public sector. And I think the call to action has been very, very clear in terms of reducing red tape when it comes to small businesses and entrepreneurship, when it comes to making or creating a conducive environment for entrepreneurship and business. That's, of course, the call to government to heed, but most importantly for business people, business leaders and entrepreneurs and innovators to forge ahead forge ahead and follow through when it comes to that passion and their vision. We've been encouraging you right throughout the day to tweet us, to tweet, to tag us, just to make sure that that social media interaction carries on right through and hopefully getting us trending. So once again, a big congratulations to our two winners for today. The winner for the duffel bag by Mandatory was Anne Bresla. So thanks so much for taking part in tweeting and tagging us. And of course, the winner of that 1,000 Rand Takealot voucher was a Mr. Kwezi on Twitter. So he got that voucher for the most Twitter interaction. We still have some great prizes for grabs for day 2 of the conference. So please do keep interacting and just maintain that energy and tweet using the following hashtags. Hashtag Top Empowerment, hashtag Transformation 2022, hashtag Green is the New Gold, hashtag Nedbank, so that you too can stand a chance to win those awesome prizes we're watching for the most engaging participants. And delegates with the most social media engagement posts on Twitter will stand another chance to win a 1,000 Rand Takealot voucher, as well as that duffel bag from Mandatory. And of course, make sure to visit the virtual photo booth. Click on the link that pops up in the chat feed and make sure you share your pictures on social media and tag us. Also, be sure to visit the expo booths and take advantage of the networking functions, as I mentioned, and make loads of contacts. You can answer or ask questions rather in the chat box, as well as please answer the polls. A big and special thank you to Avo by Nedbank, who will be giving away 5 1,000 Rand vouchers. Avo is, of course, South Africa's first super app where you can shop until you drop. Make sure you head over to the Nedbank Expo booth and stand a chance to win one of those vouchers. And most importantly, if not at all least, Nedbank will also be giving away 2 tickets to enter the Nedbank Golf Challenge, which takes place at Sun City every year. So to win, you need to retweet about the 2 panel discussions hosted by Nedbank on both day 1 and day 2 of the conference, and use those hashtags. So don't forget, do take a screenshot of your Twitter posts and submit on the Nedbank virtual booth chat section. And those winners will be announced after the conference. A massive thank you once again to our gold sponsor, who's been sponsoring this event since its inception 7 years ago, and of course is also a regular winner at the Top Empowerment Awards for their incredible dedication to transformation in South Africa. And that, of course, is Nedbank. And then, of course, our distinguished silver sponsors who've been doing incredible work in the transformation sector: Avbob, Hollard Insurance, Merchants, IDC, the University of the Free State, as well as Nemesis Accounting. Thank you to those organizations, without whom an event like this would not at all be possible. Thank you to all our sponsors. I'm Refilwe Mpakanyani, your host and facilitator for the conference. Looking forward to being in your company once again tomorrow, day 2 of the Top Empowerment Conference. Looking forward to it. Let's maintain that engagement on social media, but we'll catch you bright and early back here tomorrow morning.